So for the last week or so, I've been testing out this camera that I'm using right now to shoot this and the bulk of everything else that's in this video. This is the Canon C50. I've kept the setup super simple for this, no top handle. Right now I just have the mic running straight into the 3.5 jack on the side. I figure this is how a lot of people will want to use this camera. Camera strapped around my neck, and been using some lenses I like, some contact Zeisses. Right now this is with the Canon 50 prime, so I can use the autofocus. And yeah, look, I've been really enjoying shooting with it. Probably one of the more exciting cameras to drop from Canon for a while. Really going for that category of people that want a compact camera with high-end features. There's a lot to like about this camera. And just from dropping the footage into Resolve today and having a quick grade, I think it looks really nice. So far, I think this camera is achieving what it's meant to achieve, and that is the most compact, high-end option in Canon's lineup. This is a pretty cool release. It kind of addresses a bunch of the stuff that would have been probably holding a lot of people back from buying some of those SLR size Canon cameras for video purposes. Things like bad battery life, overheating, and I guess lack of video specific kind of functionality. This really addresses that. They've gotten better with their battery life. There's a bunch of codec options. I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting Canon to come out with a camera like this that had 7K open gate. That's pretty cool. One of the first cameras in this class, other than some offerings by Panasonic and Blackmagic, to offer that kind of feature. It shows how far cameras have come, that something like this from a manufacturer like Canon is including something like 7K RAW. And look, I've been going through a bunch of the footage I shot with this camera today, and the Canon RAW files play back really well. I know when I was doing some testing the other night, I had to switch over to long GOP because I went onto my second card, which was just an SD card. I only had one small CF Express to use for the testing of this, which I often filled up pretty quick when I was in 7K RAW. But yeah, it was funny. I was going through the files I shot, and 7K RAW stuff, I was able to scrub through and edit really well. It was the long GOP MPEG-4 stuff which I ended up having to convert to a optimized format to be able to edit more smoothly. So I think the fact that Canon RAW has come so far that it's now something that can be included in a high resolution small body like this and edits really well, but also gives you a lot to work with from a grading kind of perspective. You know, 12-bit files that you're going to be able to tinker with a fair bit. That's pretty cool. While I had this, I shot a bunch of stuff where I've left it just in that open gate aspect ratio, but I've also done some tests with some anamorphics. So shout out to my Sydney friend Tom Roberts, who let me have a play with his Atlas Mercuries. So we did some testing in Chinatown in the city here in Sydney, put it on the gimbal, and we were using the 36 and the 50 from memory for a bunch of those shots, and pretty cool how that stuff came up. fact that it was able to use that full sensor to give you this wide output, 1.5 D squeeze. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And it was really easy to work with that camera on the gimbal as well. Mercuries aren't too heavy, and of course this body is super light. So really good for the gimbal. If I was to get a camera like this, gimbal is one of the main things I'd be using it for. So the fact that it's easy to take that top handle off and have it just on the gimbal, easy to balance, nice and light, pretty cool. And I think that's definitely going to be one of the things people use this camera for. A lot of the shooting I did in this video, I tried to keep things as compact as possible. I took the top handle off, I put a camera strap on, and I just cruise around with a prime lens. So some of my Contax Zeiss's, some personal favorites, I'd have one lens on and maybe one more in my tote bag. You can still run audio in without using that top handle. My Rode Wireless Pros, which I use for most things, just plugs straight into the mic jack, and you can just clip it into the hot shoe on top to hold it in place. So it's a really easy way to do things. I mean, it's cool that they've included this top handle. It's going to be people who really love that for dock stuff. Get a nice shotgun mic and leave it on top. Can come in really handy for vox pops and just grabbing dialogue and sound on the fly. So it's definitely cool that you have that option. You can use that if you want proper audio functionality, or you can take it off if you want it to feel more compact. And I actually found myself taking the top handle off quite a lot. Even the handle, I found I didn't really need it that much. It's such a compact camera that you can hold it just on the side, and you know, if you've got a lens, if you've got a strap for it and put it over your shoulder, it's pretty easy to work with. I think the first thing most people are going to buy as soon as they get this camera is a cage for it, just to give them more attachment points and things like that. Even though I will say out of the box, it actually has pretty good attachment points. It's got multiple 1/4 inch points all around it, which is pretty cool for a camera this size. As you will probably hear in a lot of interviews though, I think one area where they maybe dropped the ball a little bit with the design on this is just the tripod plate, single 1/4 inch screw, and then another little slot which is more for your stills style tripod, which is not super practical, seeing most people would want to use this with a more video centric tripod. But you know, like I said, a cage is probably one of the first things people are going to get for this. Chuck a cage on it, and that's going to solve those problems with your mounting points on the bottom. Here I am on Sydney Harbour. Been cruising around testing out this camera today. Right now my mic's just on the hot shoe, just running straight into it. I think it's cool having both options. If you want more functionality, you chuck the handle on the top, you can chuck on a shotgun mic and more attachment points. Or if you want to just keep it super simple, you can use it for that. And personally, that's how I would use this camera, in a super simple configuration. When I'm traveling on a gimbal, in the backpack for a B or C cam. And yeah, I've been pretty impressed with it. I think the camera so far does what it's meant to do, which is being a pretty high-end package in a very compact and lightweight body. And so far, from what I've seen, I've been pretty happy with the footage I've shot. I'll let you be the judge of that. This one really fills a gap in Canon's market because up until this point, a lot of their cameras have had pretty bad battery life. They've been prone to overheating, and they've just had issues that maybe make the video side of things not super useful. This really addresses that. Better battery life, doesn't seem to overheat, and settings that pack a punch. I mean, 7K open gate is going to appeal to a lot of people. And so I've done about a bunch of stuff using the RAW settings. Right now, this is using long GOP, but still the full sensor. And I've tried to do a few slow-mo shots and things like that as well. Pretty excited about this camera. It's definitely something I'd consider adding to my kit in the future for a B or C cam, for gimbal, for travel, for a bunch of things. Time-lapse as well. I still have the need to shoot time-lapses using stills here and there. And that's been a bit of a toss-up for me in recent times because I don't want to necessarily buy a dedicated stills camera that I might not use that much. Having something that's good for video, but then has the add-on of stills is much better for me, which I'm hoping is what this is good for. So I shot some time lapses using RAWs before. Be interested to see what that's like to work with, but yeah, stay tuned for more thoughts. So, I mean, just to summarize from my limited shooting time with this camera, I don't know if there's too much more I'd change, to be honest. I think it's pretty perfect for what it is. I mean, obviously, you'll go through all the different recording formats and modes and things like that, and you'll realize that there's limitations depending what card you're using and, you know, only having certain resolutions in certain formats and things like that. But I gotta say, that's how it kind of works on most cameras. So I think there's no surprises, you know, for example, that you can't shoot full sensor RAW in 4K or something like that. The way RAW modes normally work is that they favor the full resolution, and normally when you go down, they'll crop the sensor. So I think for what it is, this does have plenty of modes. I think it's nice having this 2 slots as well, the CF Express and the SD, because that could get you out of a pickle. You know, if you forget your CF Express card, at least you could always go pick up an SD card, even if it wasn't quite fast enough. I'm sure you would find a low data rate mode that you could record in, which can get you out of a bind. And it is also good having those settings just for when you are doing more long take things where you don't want to be chewing through a lot of data. Shooting full resolution RAW, you are going to be going through quite a bit of data with this kind of camera, but for people who want to be able to grade their own footage and try to get some really nice shots out of a camera this size, and you know, there's a lot of people doing cinematic aesthetic style videos using cameras like the FX3 at the moment. They're going to have a field day with this. They're going to love this camera for the extra kind of, to me, the full resolution RAW footage just looked very vibrant and dynamic. I thought it had really good dynamic range and really good color depth, accurate colors. One thing I heard in another review, which I think is a good way to look at this, is both Sony and Canon can get you to the same end point. However, it is easier to get there quicker with Canons like this. If you've never graded Canon footage before, it is a very, I guess you'd say, faithful and natural, straight out of the camera kind of color science, and very easy to grade. Sony is capable of really nice end results too, but I think it can take a bit more getting used to with how to properly grade that footage. Whereas with this, it's very easy to me. So yeah, I was really happy with a bunch of the shots I was able to get for this review, and definitely going to be keeping an eye on maybe picking up one of these myself in the new year. I know in Australia they're not available till mid-November anyway, so seeing as though a lot of freelance work here kind of shuts down over Christmas and January. Buying one of these at the end of the year, unless you've got surplus funds, it's probably not the best idea. But yeah, I think it's going to serve a lot of people really well as a B cam, as a gimbal cam, if you already have a Canon camera, or even a Red or something for that matter. Really easy to match a few of the brands at the moment. But also for people wanting to step up, who've maybe had a mirrorless SLR and do a lot of video stuff, but want to get something that gives them a bit more potential on the video side of things and elevates what they're doing. I think this is going to be a great A camera for a lot of those people also. It's cool to see that Canon are being pretty progressive with some of these releases and addressing some of the issues that have long plagued their mirrorless SLRs. You know, like I said, the battery life and the overheating and things like that. So yeah, it's a nice option for them to have, and I think a camera that's going to be really popular. Let me know your thoughts on the footage that I shot for this and how you think this camera sits in the market and whether it's of interest to you. Cheers for watching.